Colin Harding is a Latin America analyst. He joins us now from Manchester in the UK. Colin, let's go back in history a bit, but using history as a reference for the modern day, how much of the Chilean economy is a product of the time of General Pinochet?
Well, the basic model hasn't changed all that much, really. We've had socialist governments since the return of democracy in 1990.
Blaming the neoliberal economic model for the inequalities that exist, because they definitely do exist.
Yes, I mean, even the President Pinochet, recognizes that Chile is quite an unequal society, not the worst by any means, but there are great inequalities. I think a lot of people are blaming the model, and they're talking about what Chile needs is a new constitution, which the president really doesn't accept. He doesn't think that's a high priority. He thinks what he calls a social agenda, the reforms to the health system, education, wages, pensions, that sort of thing, will successfully deal with the people's discontents. But a lot of the demonstrators on the streets want to go much further than that. They think really what Chile needs is to get rid of the so-called neoliberal model enshrined in the current constitution, which dates back to the military regime, and let's have a basic discussion about what kind of country we want Chile to be, and that of course would be a long and complicated process, which President Pinochet says no, the main objective at the moment is to restore order and to deal with people's most immediate demands. So there are quite radical differences in outlook here.
Okay, as we're discussing the philosophy of neoliberalism, just for the benefit of the viewers, those economists that I mentioned in the queue who came back to Chile after being educated at the University of Chicago, they were known as the Chicago Boys because they studied in Chicago under Milton Friedman, this champion of neoliberalism. You know, I lived in Chile in the early 1990s, and the Chicago Boys were still there, but they were my age. I met Peruvians and other Latin Americans who were given scholarships to come to Chile because there was another university, the equivalent of the University of Chicago in Santiago, which was teaching these right-wing economic policies. And then my friends went back to their countries, and so many of them are still employing those economic models in the work that they do. So how much, because some people say America's to blame, that it's imposed these philosophies on Latin America for its own benefit?
Well, I mean, of course, the Chilean government can and has been pointing out the successes of the economic policies of recent years, that Chile has managed to get a lot of people out of poverty. The figure that President Pinochet quotes is that when the military left power, that about 60% of the population could be defined as poor, and at about 8%. This is certainly true that the economic growth of recent years, which has been quite impressive, has generated more wealth. But of course, one of the problems with the liberal economic policies is they don't necessarily benefit everybody equally. And I think a lot of people in Chile feel that, okay, they're doing better than they were. There's a large growth of the middle class, for instance, in Chile, but they feel that they're actually struggling to get by. They're indebted. They're still trying to pay off the cost of education. The health system's not very good. The daily life is a bit of a struggle, and they feel they ought to be doing better because some people are doing very well. Wealth is very concentrated in the upper reaches of society, but they're not doing as well as they feel they should and that they deserve, and they look forward to a miserable pension when they retire. So there are a lot of discontents around the kind of society that's been generated, and they feel that the country should be doing better.
Really interesting to hear your analysis, Colin. Thank you so much. Colin Harding speaking to us from Manchester.